oh Mary, Mary, help me with God. That's shirk.
No, that is asking Mary to pray for them.
For us, it's shirk.
Well, but here's the problem. Here's the problem: is that Muslims believe that Muhammad will intercede for them on the Day of Judgment. So how many times did Moses go against Allah and say, Allah has made it too hard for you, you need to reduce it?
Let's talk about.
And then who wins the negotiation?
Don't bring anybody else. It's between you and God.
So let's have a look at that.
So when you call Allah,
Yeah.
don't mention Muhammad, Isa, Maryam.
But
don't mention anybody.
But don't you do that in the Shahada? What the prophets are doing, according to your hadiths, is they're not being good Muslims, but worse than that, they are managing to convince Allah to change his mind. That's shirk.
I really enjoyed your talk.
Thanks be to
very
God.
much. It's good
God
to
bless
talk
you, bro.
to you, yeah.
Yeah, hope it well blesses you, bro. So are we up and rolling? So what we're talking about is the Quran
Forget
gets.
the camera, man. Let's talk.
Okay, so I'm just helping people catch up. Yeah. Do you see? This is what I'm saying.
You see, you changed. I didn't change.
Has he not changed? He's
No,
gone from
I'm
being
talking-
really
let's talk,
polite, and
let's
now
talk.
suddenly he's trying to.
Bob,
He's a
no,
bit more
no,
aggressive
Bob,
now.
Bob, no,
He's a bit more aggressive now.
No. Let's talk.
Right.
Sorry about
So
that. I didn't mean it.
Okay, so let me recap for the people that are now got. You wanted the
Okay,
camera.
okay, go ahead then.
You were begging for the
Okay,
camera,
go ahead.
right? For the people that are watching on the camera, before the camera arrived, we were talking about the fact that the Quran misdescribes Christian beliefs, especially in the phrase where Allah says to Jesus, did you say to the people, take me and my mother as gods beside Allah? That's what we're talking about, okay? So then we were talking about the intercession of Mary, about the position that the Catholic Church teaches. You're a Catholic, bro? Fair enough. So the Catholic Church, we've demonstrated that if you can ask someone to pray for you, and that isn't treating them like God, then Catholics should not be accused of treating Mary like a god because they ask Mary to pray for her.
Okay, let me tell
Pray
you
for
the
them.
position of Islam on this.
Yeah.
The position on Islam, it's allowed for somebody to pray for you, provided he's here with you.
Okay, yes.
If he's not here, it's not allowed.
Right.
It's not allowed.
Right.
If it's shirk.
Right. 1 second. So on this point, we just have a difference. We just have an honest difference in the Christian faith. In the Christian faith, for the vast majority of Christians, not all Christians,
Yes.
because to be fair, there are Christians that agree with you.
Yeah.
There are Christians that have your position.
I know.
But the majority of Christians accept that the bonds of life don't end with death,
Okay.
and that those souls that are destined for paradise, by the grace of God, can still hear the prayer requests of the church militant.
Yeah.
The church triumphant can still pray for the church militant.
All right.
Okay? So we just disagree with you on this issue about
No
whether
problem, you
someone.
can disagree,
But that
I'm
is
not-
not.
I'm not saying you can't. You
That
can
is-
disagree, but I'm only clarifying the
Yeah.
position of Islam
Right,
on this.
but the point is, the Quran makes the claim that Mary is a god. That we Christians treat her like a god.
Bob, I told you, if you treat somebody like a god, to God that's God. That's shirk.
How is Mary treated like a god?
Because
And
Mary,
by
Mary,
the way, before the camera, you weren't shouting. Calm down.
you're shouting as well.
Carry on.
Look, not just Christian. Even there are Muslims who call the dead,
Yes.
who they're calling saints who died
Yeah,
long time
I know
ago.
they do.
That's shirk. They
To
shouldn't
some
do that.
Muslims, other Muslims say that.
In the Quran say it's shirk. Because if you call what makes God God, what makes him God is that he's not here but he's here. He's not here but he can hear us.
Yeah.
He can see us and he can listen to us and he can respond. He's the only one who's absent but can respond to you.
Okay.
If you say there is someone who died long time ago,
Yeah.
or maybe he's in a different country, maybe in
Yeah.
Australia right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but if you call him, he can respond.
Yeah.
You made him into a god.
Yeah. So the point is, in the Christian faith, there's not a scrap of evidence that you can provide that Mary is acclaimed as a god within the Catholic Church? Not a scrap.
Well, it depends, on if I see somebody, a Catholic or anything,
Yeah.
saying, "Oh Mary, Mary, help me with God," that's shirk.
No, that is asking Mary to pray for
For
them.
us, it's shirk.
Well, but here's the problem. Is that Muslims believe that Muhammad will intercede for them on the Day of Judgment.
But Muslims don't say, "Oh Muhammad, intercede for me." They don't say that. They don't call upon him.
Firstly,
they don't make a dua or a prayer or a call.
there are Muslims that believe that by going to the tombs of saints and prophets that they can receive blessing.
For me, it's shirk.
That's for you.
I could only, yeah, for
Well,
me,
that's
it's
for
shirk,
you.
yeah.
But-
I could only
but-
tell you what I believe.
But I mean, the problem is that the fact of the matter is, the statement of the Quran is still wrong. Because the statement of the Quran
Yes.
is that we Christians believe Mary is a god.
Yes.
And you have not provided a shred of evidence that even Catholics believe that Mary is a god. Can you show me any evidence from a Catholic book or a Catholic statement that Mary is a god? Any?
Yeah, okay. Brother, the Quranic position on this topic
Is wrong.
Is that, like I said before, you don't have to call somebody God for him to be God for you. You could treat him like a God.
Okay.
If you treat him like a God, for God, you made a shirk. You made him you deified him.
Right.
So don't deify anybody, whether he's here today or died long
Okay,
time
so now
ago.
prove.
Don't deify
So
anybody.
now prove that Catholics
Your contact-
deify Mary.
Basically, what religion and faith is depends on. It's all about your contact, your direct contact with God. Why do you go through someone when you have direct contact with God?
Right. Firstly, that's like asking the question, why go and ask someone else to pray for you? Because whenever you go up to anyone and say, "Brother, will you pray for me? Sister, will you pray for me? Yeah, I need Allah to bless me." The moment you do that, you've not gone directly to God, you've gone to someone else to do it for you. One second. So this is a completely false logic, because the reality is everybody does that. I've had Muslims ask me to pray for them in this park. I've heard Muslims ask other Muslims to pray for them.
all right.
So this idea that you have to go directly to God, it's
are you saying-
one second. It's a catchphrase. It is, and it's a dishonest catchphrase. The fundamental difference between the Christian position and the Islamic position is whether we can still ask people on the other side of death to pray for us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the Christian position is you can. And the Islamic position is you can't. But you as a Muslim believe that existence continues in the grave because you believe in the punishment of the grave, don't you?
Yes.
Right. Well, we Christians believe that the connection continues between the church militant and the church triumphant. Why? Because they are continuing to exist. They are both still alive.
Okay.
And God is the one that empowers them to hear the prayers of the church militant.
For example, okay, Bob, what do you think if we talk about me and you, not other people? Because we don't know what they believe. We don't know.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about me and you.
Do you call on someone else?
I have no problem with the idea of calling on the saints to pray for me.
I don't.
Right.
I don't do that.
But-
if I need anything, I call God directly.
Right, brilliant. So now let me ask you this, right?
I'm happy with that.
Bearing in mind what I have said about what I believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Do you think it is fair to say that I am calling the saints gods?
To me, you're considering them God.
No.
You don't need to say they're God, but to me, they are your gods.
Right. Well, that's disingenuous. Because,
No, that's my own opinion.
So now let me correct your opinion with a fact.
How I see you, that's how I see
So,
it.
so now let me correct your opinion
Okay.
with a fact, because you said let's us talk about what I believe and what you
Ourselves,
believe.
yeah,
Right.
yes, yeah.
I'm going to tell you in black and white. Listen, I do not believe that any of the saints are gods. I don't believe that. I do not believe that Mary is a god.
Okay.
I do not believe that. So now, since we're just talking about me and you, right, and I have corrected your perception,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you again. now that I've expressed what my actual
can I
belief.
answer your-
Do
what
you
you just
believe
said?
that I believe that Mary is a god?
You say you call them, but you don't consider them to be God.
They're not God.
Well,
yeah.
it's not you who decides shirk or what is shirk and what. It's
Yeah,
God who
right.
decides what is shirk.
Okay, and what is
God
shirk?
God decides that, not you.
Okay, what is shirk?
Because what is shirk?
What is shirk?
Shirk is to let somebody between you and God.
That is not shirk.
For us, that's shirk.
No, that's for you what shirk is. That is not the definition of shirk. Shirk is to ascribe partners to Allah, to ascribe the attributes
what
of
it
Allah,
is. That's
to
what it is.
ascribe the attributes of Allah to someone other than Allah, and to
There
describe.
are many types of shirk.
Right. Yeah, there are many types of shirk.
Yes.
But
That's
we
different
find
type,
find shirk inside Islam.
Yeah. But we're talking about this
Yeah.
specific topic.
Yes, so
you know,
so we're talking about
the aspect
yes,
of calling
yes,
God.
yes. So let us be clear about what the Quran is stating. When the Quran says that we we describe Jesus and Mary as gods beside Allah, it is saying that we treat Jesus and Mary
Yes.
as being like Allah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And the reality is to anyone who does objective research on this question, the Catholic Church, and I'm not Catholic myself, you're not speaking to a Roman Catholic.
Okay, I know.
Right?
I know you're not. What are
Okay,
you?
I'm just Christian.
Are you Protestant?
Just Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
No domination.
Non-denominational.
Yeah.
I don't believe in denominations.
Like me, I don't
Okay.
follow any madhab.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm only Muslim.
So the point is, when the Quran is making the claim that Mary is a god, right, it's incumbent upon those that agree with the Quran to provide evidence. Evidence that, remember, that doesn't kick you in the ass. Because you believe that on the Day of Judgment, that people are going to ask Muhammad to intercede for them. So by your own logic, that's shirk, and Muhammad is being treated like a god.
That's not. No. You know why? Because on the Day of Judgment, Muhammad is there.
Yeah.
If like I said before.
Sorry, does Muhammad have the hearing to hear every single person?
I was going to say
Yeah,
this.
go on.
Look, like I said before, there is no problem to ask somebody for help on anything.
Great.
But the one condition, he has to be here with you.
He has to be here with you.
Here with you.
He has
Like
to
now,
be here with
I
you.
could ask you for help.
Okay.
You could ask me for help.
Can you show me?
So Muhammad on the Day
Yeah.
of Judgment, he's going to be there.
Okay, great.
That's why they're asking
Great,
him.
mate. Can you show me in the Quran this definition of shirk?
Sorry?
You have given a definition of shirk.
Yeah.
You have said that if you pray to someone who is dead, that is shirk.
Yes.
Show me it in the Quran.
Allah in the Arabic, Allah say, وَلَا تَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ.
Yeah.
When you call,
Yes.
don't bring anybody else. It's between you and God.
So let's have a look
So
at
when
that.
you call Allah,
Yeah.
don't mention Muhammad, Isa, Maryam.
But
Don't mention anybody.
But don't you do that in the Shahada?
But
It says in the Quran that Allah sends salah upon the Prophet.
Salah, yes.
Yes. This is shirk. It says in the Quran that Allah swears by the moons and the stars.
So
This is shirk.
But listen, look, what shirk is. Allah, when He do something, I don't have the right to do it. He has the right to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I swear by the moon? I didn't create the
Yeah.
moon.
Yeah.
I don't have that right. But
So-
Allah created the
so-
moon. He has that right to
Yes.
swear by the moon.
Right. But what? There's a number of different points that I've got here, and it's a shame because we're not getting them all out. I am still yet to see from you a scrap of evidence.
Yes.
A scrap of evidence.
Yes.
And even when I correct you and I state personally what I believe,
Yeah.
you just ignore it. I have stated to you in black and white, I don't believe Mary is a god. The Quran says that I do believe Mary is a god. Which one of those two statements is true?
Like I said, you're treating her like a god.
But I'm not treating her like a god because how do I treat God?
If you
Wait. How does the Bible say that we should worship God?
the Bible.
Yes. How does the
I'm not
Bible?
sure- I'm not
right,
sure about the
great.
Bible.
Right. So let me tell you how the Bible says. Yeah. Right, shall we take a step back from these guys?
Yeah, sure.
JC, let's just move away from the... In Romans, bro, are you ready?
Yeah.
So in Romans, in Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, it says, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the light of God's mercy, to offer your souls and bodies to be a living sacrifice to the Lord your God, which is your acceptable worship as a sensible people, and be no longer conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So Christian worship is to offer your whole life, your whole existence to God as an act of worship. Okay? Christians don't do that to Mary. So for you to say that for you to say that I treat Mary as a god, you first have to understand how I treat God. And if I treat God in one way, but I treat Mary in a way that is fundamentally different, it is wrong of you to say that I treat Mary as a god.
Bob, I could only tell you what the Quran says.
Yeah, and the Quran
I could
is
only
wrong.
say
Right.
my understanding,
Yes.
because every Muslim has his own understanding of
Yes.
the Quran. My understanding is Allah say in the Quran
Yeah.
thousands of times, do not لا تدعو مع الله إلها آخر. Do not call.
Yes.
When you call Allah, do not call anybody else. Do not invoke any other name other than Him.
But you're doing the Shahada.
But that is not calling for help. That's not, when I call for help, when I'm in trouble and I need God's help,
Yes.
I call God.
Yes.
If I invoke someone else's name with that, that's shirk.
Yes.
If I say, oh Muhammad, please help me, speak to God for me, that's shirk.
Yep.
Because if the king said to you, here is my phone number,
Yes.
call me anytime you want.
Yes.
And then when you need him, you call the minister.
Yeah.
And you say to the minister, could you tell the king? That's what the people do.
Right.
That's shirk.
Right. Well, let's be clear about something.
That's what a
Okay.
lot of Muslims do.
Let's be clear about something. The first thing that we've got to be recognised for academic honesty is that there are lots of Muslims that do exactly the thing that you're condemning. There are lots of Muslims that are doing that. Right. The second thing is that when the Muslims need help on the day of judgment, when they need help, when they need judgment to begin, they call upon who? Muhammad. Wait one second. You said if when you need help, you call upon someone else other than Allah, that is shirk. Now if I need help and I call upon you, to help me in this life, you'd say that is not shirk.
Yes, if you're here, it's not
right.
shirk.
It's not shirk. So the definition of shirk.
Muhammad will be there.
Hold on one second. So literally, the only thing that your argument is based upon is whether someone is after mortem or post mortem or pre-mortem.
There are conditions, it depends on the circumstances.
But the thing is, bro, right? You've got to understand that you are simply stating what the Quran states.
Yes, that's what
I am trying to point out to you that what the Quran states is factually wrong. And the reason why it is factually wrong...
You're entitled to your opinion.
No, wait, let me explain why it's factually wrong. Because the God, our God, Yahweh, has absolutely no problem with the idea of those who are alive speaking to the dead. Okay. Because when Christ was on the Mount of Transfiguration, he spoke to who? He spoke to Moses and he spoke to Elijah. In your religion, Muhammad goes to Jerusalem, and then what happens? Right? This is shirk in Islam. I'm going to give you another example of shirk. Remember, Muhammad is alive. Moses is dead and the other prophets are dead, and Allah goes all the way up to the throne of heaven, and Allah says, you pray 50,000 times. And then he comes down and he speaks to Moses, and he speaks to the other prophets, and then he goes and they say to him, go back up and ask for less, go back up and ask for less. And
what's shirk about
that?
Right,
the shirk is that the prophets are arguing against Allah. Allah has given a command, pray 50,000 times. And then the prophets are going, that's a bit much. Don't pray 50,000 times. Go back up and ask him if he'll do something else. So What the prophets are doing, according to your hadiths, is they're not being good Muslims, but worse than that, they are managing to convince Allah to change his mind. That's shirk.
No, it's not.
So why is it Allah is changing his mind based upon the prophets, please?
You know, shirk in the Quran is very clear.
Yes.
It's very clear. Allah says in the Quran, know that I'm the only one who could benefit you and harm you.
Yes.
All benefit and all harm, no matter how big or small, comes from me.
Yeah.
No one have any effect on it.
Yes.
No human being can harm you or benefit you. If you think somebody could harm you or benefit you, that's shirk.
Yeah.
That's shirk.
Okay.
It's very simple, you know.
But the point is, bro, you've got a prophet who's alive speaking to a prophet who is dead. Moses is dead at the point that Muhammad is talking to him. No, hold on a second. Moses is dead at the point when Muhammad is talking to him.
Bob, you don't know what shirk in Islam.
No, hold on one second. Am I right?
You don't know.
Do the
If you
hadith.
say this, you
no,
don't know.
I would say that your definition of neither of us are working to a strict definition of shirk right now.
No,
I'm trying to work with your definition.
You speak for your Christianity.
Yes.
And I speak for my Islam.
And what I'm saying to you is that my Christianity tells me that your Quran is wrong because your Quran states something about me that I don't believe. But what is worse is that even by your definition of shirk, which is that you should not ask someone who is dead to do something for you, Muhammad seeks the advice of dead prophets.
No, he didn't say.
Can we pull up? Do we know the hadith?
You got it wrong.
So tell us the story according to the hadith. What happens
Muhammad,
on the night of power?
On his
Not
way
the night
back.
of power. Yeah, the night of the night journey, the Miraj, the night journey.
Prophet Muhammad on his way back from Allah.
Yes.
After he was given the command of 50 prayers a day.
Yes.
He met Moses.
Yes.
He didn't go to him.
Right, he met him. Brilliant, he met him.
And Moses tell him, what did God say to you?
Yes.
And he told him.
Yes.
And then he said to him, go back to Allah and ask him to reduce it because it's going to be too much for your people.
So, right, the Prophet of Allah is taking it, in this example, the Prophet of Allah is taking instructions from who? Allah or Moses?
Not instructions, instructions.
What does Moses say to him? He says, go back up and ask him to reduce it because it's too hard.
It's like a device, you know.
So Moses is telling Muhammad, hey, Allah got it wrong. It's too hard. Go back up and negotiate.
But brother, you know the nature of Moses. Moses, you know how he speaks to God. You know his nature.
God.
Yeah.
When God chose him to make him a messenger, what did he say? No, I don't want to be.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah.
But did God say, no, you don't need to be?
And he mentioned many things. He said, I am like this and I am like this. I'm not good for this mission.
Yeah.
But God said to him, no. So God could accept conversation with his people.
Yeah.
No problem. You could have a conversation with God. If God.
No. Hold on.
If God
You've
said
missed
to you
the point.
something.
You've missed the point. The fact of the matter is, Moses is contradicting Allah. Allah said, pray 50 times a day. Moses says, Allah got that wrong. That's going to be too hard for you.
It's not like that.
Go back up and ask him to reduce it. So how many times does he go back up and down?
By the way, that was it.
No, don't interrupt. Go on.
Many times until it got to 5 times.
Many times.
Yeah.
So how many times did Moses go against Allah and say, Allah has made it too hard for you, you need to reduce it?
Let's talk, Bob.
And then who wins the negotiation? Allah or Muhammad? Muhammad wins the negotiation.
You're talking to the camera or to me?
Sorry, you're right. Fair point.
Look, you must know what shirk is to us.
I don't think either of us.
That has nothing to do with shirk.
I don't think you've used shirk properly either.
Look, Allah have conversations with the people,
Yeah.
prophets and non-prophets. He talks to people.
Yeah.
He wants a normal conversation with you. He's with you every day. Every day he's with you. He wants you to talk to him, to communicate with him. You know, all the time. Ask him for tea. Ask him for. Allah will go. If you go for a walk, Allah will come with you. You know, that's the relationship between us and God in Islam. So Allah He loves us more than a father loves his children. So Allah wants to have a normal conversation with us. If He tell you to do something, you say, "Oh Allah, I can't do it. It's too much for it. Too difficult for me. Could you reduce it for me?" So there is no problem with that.
So
as long as you talk to him directly, there's no problem.
But Moses,
the problem
one
is
second.
when you send someone else and said, "Go speak to God for me,"
like Moses did. Like Moses did. Like Moses did.
When did Moses do
Literally, Moses contradicts Allah. He says, Allah says, "I want you Muslims to pray 50 times a day." Moses says to Muhammad, "That's going to be too hard for you. Go back up and ask him to reduce it." And he does this, I don't know, 6, 7 times. Now, the point that I'm making to you, bro, is that by your earlier definition of shirk, that is that the dead is the living is speaking to the dead, that you're saying that is what makes it shirk. In this moment,
look,
Muhammad is
can we
alive
wrap up?
and Moses is dead.
Can we wrap up?
Okay.
Let's wrap up.
You have your statement, I'll have my statement. Okay.
Since we're talking about shirk, and shirk is basically about the relationship between the individual and God.
Yeah.
And in shirk, in iman, which is opposite shirk, in iman, Allah wants you to communicate with Him, no matter what you say, even if you're angry. Even if you're angry with Him, and you say, "God, I'm angry with you.
Yes.
I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm not gonna do this." As long as you talk to Him, there's no problem.
Okay.
He love you. But when you go to someone else and you say to him, "I don't want to talk to God, you talk to God for me," that's shirk.
Okay.
God don't accept that. That's shirk.
Okay.
But come to God, talk to Him, say whatever you want.
Okay.
You can have a problem with Him if you want as well. But as long as it's direct, Allah is merciful.
Okay, so
He will treat you like a father treating his child.
Okay, are we done?
Yeah, give him chance now.
What would your father do if you are a child and you say to him, "I hate you"?
Okay, so can I reply to this?
No problem with that.
Okay, so the reality is, as you well know, the Quran never describes Allah as a father, ever. And
I said like.
Okay,
I said like.
Let me. You've wrapped up. Let me wrap up. So the reality is that the Quran never describes Allah as a father.
Okay.
And there is no relationship taught in the Quran that we have the dignity of children before Allah. The dignity, or if you could call it dignity, that is described in the Quran is that of a slave.
Okay,
to Allah.
wrap up.
But
You're not wrapping up.
In the New Testament.
Forget what I said. Okay,
in the New Testament.
Okay, I take that word back.
Okay, fine, that's fine. Okay, he's dropped it, so there's no need to continue. Let me. No,
what is this one?
Let me.
He's finishing.
Jesus,
Sister,
Holy Spirit. Okay.
So listen, let me just finish up our conversation, and then I'll take a question. I'll take a question. So the reality.
Shirk.
Yes, I'm coming to it. So he's taken that point back, so there's no need to go on about that point. But the difference in the Christian faith and in the Islamic faith is that we believe that God truly relates with His creation.
Yes.
That He enters into His creation, that His Holy Spirit enters into His temple, which is the church, and that we participate in the divine energy. In the same way that if I take a knife and I stick it in a hot furnace, the knife will take on all the properties of the flame. It will give out light, it will give out heat. If you touch it, you'll burn.
Okay.
But the knife doesn't become fire. It doesn't become God. And this is what we're saying, is that as Christians, we believe that the saints of God participate in the energy of God. So Mary participates in the energy of God, but she never becomes God. And so when the Quran states that we take Mary as a God, the Quran is factually false. Right? I can't put it any more in black and white. And why does that matter to you? Because the Quran says to me that if I find any errors in the Quran, I should know, therefore, that it is not from Allah. And I find an error in the Quran, which is the error is
thank
the
you.
Quran says that I believe Mary's a god. That is an error, and I don't believe that.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Nice
That was a nice conversation.
conversation.
Let's do more of
Thanks for the
these.
tea as well.
Let me- you're welcome.
No, so wait. Even Muhammad said before
Yeah, I love
2
you
days,
too. I love you too.
follow Jesus. He
Yes.
told them.
Yes.
There is no Quran.
Yes. Bro, have you got a Bible at home?
Yeah. I am
No,
finished.
no.
Don't
You
follow
haven't?
I read it, I
Follow
read it, I
Jesus.
read it.
Wait. I want to give you a gift.
I know the Bible better than you.
Wait. Bro, I want to give you a gift. Let me give you a gift, please. Here you go, bro.